in school was never my thing because I didn't like that there was a right and a wrong answer, and I didn't like, and so I think one of the things that I loved about advertising, and still do, and to a certain extent film is similar, is that it's very subjective, obviously. And in an ad agency back in the day, at least, I don't know how it is now. I don't, in our office at least, it's if I show you an ad and you don't get it, I'm the idiot. You're not the idiot. And I really like it. Spoke to me because I wasn't very good in school, I suppose. And so the idea that the message needs to be kind of measured in whoever's reading it was very compelling to me. But I think like most people don't. Maybe now it's different, but when I grew up, most people, I don't think, knew that there was such a thing as advertising agencies. They assumed that, that Ford did their own advertising or that, whoever. And so I remember seeing an ad for a Swedish airline, and you know how every airport has three-letter combination, JFK and EWK or whatever, and they'd written the whole ad in those sort of it'd been divided up in three-letter words, and I thought that was really brilliant, and that's kind of what made me think I want to do. Well, I started my first job in advertising answering phones at an ad agency, and that ad agency was part of a bigger network. And I then wanted to move to New York afterward, and I remember sending these naive letters to big agencies thinking I could get a job, but it didn't work. So I applied for art school, and I couldn't really decide whether I wanted to be an art director or a copywriter. So I applied for both, one of which I did one under false name. And I got an interview to both, and I got actually accepted to both. And then I chose copywriting mainly because it was shorter, and I'm probably more of a writer. And then we did all these projects, and then there was this older guy who was sort of acting as my mentor, and we were doing a project together, and we just had the idea, why don't we start something? And we did. So that was 21. In our case, I mean, we went to IKEA and bought desks, and we sat in this old sort of apartment that was our office, and we had one little project that kind of grew into an actual client. It was a big newspaper, sort of the New York Times equivalent in Sweden, and I've always sort of liked, I guess, the whole idea of sort of playing office. So the whole getting phones and business cards and stuff was actually a lot of fun. I think when we started this office, one of the things that I was very careful about was that when you start something and you have a bunch of people who are very sort of problem oriented, we're all sort of problem solvers, right? So to have a bunch of creative people sitting in a room and not have problems to solve, i.e. clients, you kind of go a little nuts. So we spent, I think 6 months on our business cards, and it was a lot of debate about things that probably shouldn't have been. But and then we named the agency after Paul Simon and Garfunkel song, I suppose, Graceland. And so it was basically based on what would be cool to say when someone calls you. As I answer the phone and say, hey, welcome to Graceland. We thought it would be a cool thing. And so when we started calling, I remember doing a sort of a cold call, which I don't really do anymore, to a client just the day of when we named the company. And he was like, yeah, I've heard of you guys. And sort of in the back of his head, he probably knew this song or he'd heard of us.